there. Welcome back to another episode of Imperfect Marketing. I'm your host, Kendra Corman, and today we're going to talk about something I'm very passionate about. That is using podcasting to build genuine relationships. Different way to think about podcasting, right? A lot of people are always talking about downloads and reach and social media likes and follows and content repurposing. But let's talk about the relationships that you can create. Learned that there's a fellow podcast host who actually did 100% of her lead generation activities through her podcast. Think about that for a second. 100% of her lead gen was through her podcast episodes. Now, not creepy, because there are people who do lead gen through podcasting that are definitely creepy, and the whole thing is basically a big sales opportunity, and they want you to sign up and buy something, and some people do it so that you pay to be on their show, whatever. Not a fan of those, not a fan of that style, but this podcast host used it in an authentic way to connect with people because she would chat with them before the episode, they'd record, she'd chat with them afterwards and built a genuine connection. And then she follows up. I know it's crazy. She follows up with her guests and she doesn't lose contact with them and has been on several different podcasts or had guests come back repeatedly. And she's built those relationships. And I think that that's just such an innovative way to think about building relationships. I think you know pretty well, right, that a genuine connection is worth 1,000 social posts, right? So why do we spend so much more time on social media than we do building those quality relationships? Podcasts, especially if you have guest episodes or you're guesting, have so much more opportunity for real connection and relationships than we ever do on social media. So I really want you to think about that. Now, today we're going to look at both sides of the microphone, guesting and hosting, right? Because I'm going to tell you a little bit about the things I've done, I think, well, and all the ones that I'm going to be improving in 2025 as part of my 2025 plan. So let's start by shifting our perspective about what makes a podcast successful. Download numbers, reach, again, great. The real magic happens in the connections we build with our listeners, with our viewers, and with our guests. So I remember when I first started this show, I was so focused on the numbers. Oh my gosh, only 2 people listened. Okay, it wasn't ever that bad. Like, how many downloads did I get this week? Okay, if I send out this email, I can get more downloads. And so I'd send out another email. It really wasn't about that, though. It was about me providing value and building relationships with people and keeping myself top of mind with them and creating that relationship, getting them on my email list and continuing that relationship as we go. And I think that there's just, again, so much overlooked value there. It's not about the downloads. So if you're starting out on podcasting, move away from the downloads. Don't check every day. Maybe check once a month. It's not that important. So the beauty of podcast networking is you're not exchanging business cards at some crowded venue, right? You're having a real conversation with somebody. You're sharing genuine insights and creating content together, especially if it's a guest episode or if you're guesting on someone else's episode, right? You're creating content and value for their audience together. How powerful is that? How much opportunity is there between you and them for moving forward? And that shared experience really does create a unique bond. I know I've had such amazing conversations with so many of my guests. Then they've followed up and they've invited me to join their community or something along those lines. And again, there's just so much value there. Now, I want you to think about, where do you get 30 minutes of quality time with somebody? Uninterrupted, focused time discussing a topic that you and most likely them are passionate about. Not too many places, right? Maybe a client meeting, maybe a one-on-one for some networking group that you're a part of, but it's not as common as you would think. That's where podcasting's power comes in. And that's gold for relationship building. Now, as a host, you have an amazing power to create meaningful relationships. Again, it's all in the follow-up. Now, I've dropped the ball more times than I can count on the follow-up. Again, not just even nurturing the connections, but letting people know their episode was going live. Thanks to Carol, my assistant, who sends out those emails now, things are a lot better. But I'm even moving further than that. I'm starting to create those connections, follow up with people, remind them about it a few months later, see how things are going. So again, this year I've scheduled follow-ups for my guests who have episodes that are releasing a month after their episode. I'm trying to stay connected through social media, and I have some notes to go check out their pages and see what they're up to, making sure that I'm commenting on their profiles if they're active on LinkedIn. And I'm looking for opportunities to promote their work beyond just the episode. Again, it's about value, right? What can I offer them and how can I help? I'm finding ways to provide value to them even after the episode is done. Now, if you research beyond their basic bio, check out Perplexity because it gives you usually some more information than their basic bio. We have genuine pre-show conversations. And then I'm always focused on making them shine during my interview. Hopefully my guests all feel that way. If you've been a guest and you're listening and you didn't feel that way, let me know. And then I'd like to create opportunities for future collaboration. Again, how can I help them? Not how can they help me? Now, let's flip to the other side of the microphone, guesting. Whenever I talk about podcast guesting, it's actually pretty cool because it generates a lot of interest in a lot of the networking meetings that I'm a part of and things like that. And again, it's an incredible opportunity to network with hosts and to network with their audience, right? So when you're a guest, you can share your expertise with a new audience, theirs. You can connect with the host on a personal level. You can build relationships with other guests, especially if that host is sharing their stuff on social media. You can comment on other guests' posts about that episode that they were on, and you can create content that you can repurpose that can help grow your business, your audience, and their audience too. Again, thinking about what value you can add in that process and really building that relationship. Now, the key approach to each of these and every appearance that you have as a guest is the same as it would be as the beginning of a relationship. It's not a one-time promotional opportunity, right? It's not what can you do for me? Some of my strongest relationships, I think, have started or been built through and taken to the next level through my podcast and me guesting on other people's podcasts. I actually started listening to podcasts from being a guest on different podcasts. And there's just so much opportunity, again, from both perspectives, either a host or a guest. Now, let's talk about that podcast host that I mentioned earlier, who gets all of her leads through her show. What made her approach work is it wasn't just about having great conversations, although that was amazing because I really did have great conversations with her. I feel like I know her and I connected with her on just such an amazing level that I wanted to be her friend. She was so likable. It was amazing. And then she nurtured that relationship afterwards. That's the key. She nurtured that relationship afterwards. Now, this relationship, it starts with the episode, right? It starts with that content. Then there's trust that's established through the conversation that you have. Both parties know and understand each other's expertise. And the connection feels real, not forced. This isn't like a big, huge sales platform, right? There's an opportunity to take it as if it's a networking event and you're having a one-on-one meeting. It's just being recorded for everybody and their brother to listen to that conversation, right? And then there's just so much more that you can do with it, especially if you follow up later. So if you're hosting or guesting, podcasting creates really unique opportunities to build your network and create meaningful connections. And I think that that's so important and just so overlooked. So again, not about quantity. It's all about quality. Not everybody's looking for 1 million sales tomorrow. So if you're a host next week, I want you to go ahead, reach out to one guest, just one that you've had on your podcast, and see how things are going with them. Remind them where they came from, right? And then if you're interested in being a guest, identify some podcasts that you might be able to provide value to their audience. Again, make sure that they have guests. That's always an important one. And then look for ways to support and promote your podcast connections, even if, and I'd almost say, especially if there's no immediate benefit to you. Think about giving first, and then I guarantee you will get later, right? It's all about giving value. So that's it for this episode of Imperfect Marketing. If you found this helpful, I would love it if you would rate and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.